Christmas before last. I had wanted to do something for Facebook, so I was playing around with the videos and I came across this fat guy dancing around a Christmas tree. And I thought it would be funny if I put Tony Morris's face on them. So I did. Well, I posted it on Facebook and I got quite a few laughs. And you know, I'm thinking, this video is just too good not to use. It was last October I wanted to change my intro. So I had inserted that into my intro. And it came to be known as the Dancing Tony. Well, about 4 or 5 months ago, maybe 6 now, Tony was fired. So it kind of made him obsolete. That week I opted to remove him from the intro. Since then, I've had people asking me in the comments section, whatever happened to the Dancing Tony? And I'm like, well, you know, I opted just to do away with it. And people understood why. But nonetheless, they missed it, as did I. It was funny. This past week, somebody had asked me if I would play it one more time. And I says, yeah, you know, I might do that. Maybe once or 2 more times. Anyways, guys, let's get to it. How you doing, guys? It was several weeks ago I had done a video on shooting a narcissist down and what to expect after. After I had posted the video, I thought of a situation I was involved in about well over 30 years ago now. And I had wished I had related. And I was thinking about it the last few days, you know, nothing wrong with relaying it again. But like I said, it ties in with pretty much everything else I had said. Now at the time, I had no idea what a narcissist was, because other than my family, I'd never had a dealing with one. I didn't even know the word existed at that point in time. If you said narcissist, I wouldn't have been able to tell you what it was. After my divorce, I was going with this girl. And to say she was crazy was an understatement. She was wild, but as wild as they come. And as wild as I was at the time, she was too wild for me. She loved to drink. And when she wanted to go out, you could be sure that somehow during the course of the night that the police would be called. Every time. I spent more money bailing her out of jail. Probably should have left her once or twice. Anyways, biggest mistake I had made was relocating to where her family was. We didn't last too much longer after that. Now, I didn't realize what a Looney Tune her brother was. Long after all this had happened, I had found out that he had caused his parents' divorce. He had interfered with he and his sister and I. In the long run, he did me a favor. Getting away from her was the best thing that ever happened. But I relocated again. Now, at this point in time, I was broke. Financially, I was hurting. It was not a kind year to me. Well, he came up with this idea. Hey, I need a place. We can move in together. Cut back on some bills. I thought that'd be a good idea. To me, this was a temporary arrangement, which I regretted from day one. This guy was up my ass constantly, and he was a chatterbox, would never stop talking. And his conversation always centered around him. So it got pretty boring most of the time. Much like I said about Narcissist, they build themselves up with a lot of self-importance. He tried to make himself more important than he really was. And I'd be like, dude, you're a waiter at Ruby Tuesdays. How important are you? Well, I couldn't breathe without him being right there. The sound of his voice would just get to me. I was working a full-time job. I opted to get a second full-time job just to get myself out of the house. Because when I was there and he was there, he just would not shut up. I could not go anywhere. I couldn't go down to the pool. I couldn't go down to the beach. Couldn't go anywhere without him following me and chit-chatting away. I found out he was a police caller. He went away for a few days. And I had worked a 16-hour day. I came home. I'm going to sleep. Well, the phone starts ringing. I didn't know who it was. This is before we had cell phones. This is before caller ID. I answered the phone. It was him. He's bitching about something. I'm like, dude, you're not even in the state. Shut up. Now, I was tired, so I hung up the phone. He proceeded to call back. Well, finally, I says, screw this. I dropped the receiver down. I just left it. Went to bed. No sooner did I go to sleep. 15, 20 minutes later, there's a knock on the door. It's the police. He called the police because the phone was off the receiver. Well, I opened the door, and then the police told me said, this guy's trying to call, but your phone was off the hook. And I says, guys, I had to leave it off the hook because I'm trying to get some sleep. They understood where I was coming from. He says, he's a police caller? And I'm like, yes, obviously. Dude, if I don't hang up the phone, he's not going to leave me alone. So they finally went off. I realized I got to find another place to live. I had lost track of the things that have happened, but it's amazing. I didn't put it to the end of his misery before then. I started bringing beer home. He was a wannabe religious person, but he really wasn't. He used to refer to beer and alcohol as Satan's urine. And one day, I brought the beer in the house and I put it in the fridge. That's Satan's urine. I don't want that in my house. And I'm like, dude, it's not your house. I pay the bills here too. Well, I don't want that here. I'm like, it stays. Well, next day, come home from work, went in to go to the fridge and no beer. Okay, dude, where's the beer? Well, I don't know. You probably drank it. No, actually, I didn't. Where's my effing beer? Never got a straight answer. Okay, so I bring another 6-pack home. I go into the kitchen. He's pouring the beer down the drain. I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Oh, didn't you know? Beer is a good drain cleaner. Well, that's nice. Grab the beer. And I'm like, but buy your own beer to pour down the drain, not mine. Well, I gave him a little shove, and he got mad. Don't you touch me. I said, dude, you touch my freaking beer and I'll break your neck. Well, he started getting a little nasty. And he starts coming at me like this. And he's halfway across the room. You're not going to hit me doing this. And I'm like, dude, get real. Well, he started getting close with the hand, so I tied him up. And I was very good at tying people up and brought him to the floor. He got up again, started coming at me again, and tied him up, dropped him to the floor. This went on about 5 or 6 times before I realized, dude, you're repeating the same thing and I'm doing the same thing to drop you to the floor. He runs off and grabs a screwdriver. Now, he is 20 feet away from me with the screwdriver, and he's going, And I'm like, you're not going to get me with the screwdriver from there. Well, he's closing in with the screwdriver. And the sound effects, too. I kid you not. Well, okay. Now I got to get a little rougher with this guy because this is going to hurt me. Well, it didn't take much to disarm him, tie him up, throw him to the floor again. And he got up. I tied him up in a cobra clutch. And all I could hear was, he couldn't breathe, he couldn't see. And I let go and I threw him to the floor. Well, he runs out of the room and he turns around. I'm going to get you for this. He had this evil face. I'm going to get you for this. He grabs the phone. He rips his shirt. He musses up his hair and he calls. I'm assuming now he called 911 and he's like, I'm going to get you for this. Hello, I'm getting beat up. Help me, please. Well, he hung up the phone and he ran in the bedroom and locked the door. And I'm like, okay. Now, knowing how I looked, I was much rougher looking at the time. I'm probably going to go to jail, so I'll just go outside and wait for the police. I sat down on the stoop outside, and I'm thinking, he's pretty devious. He's playing this pretty good. He tore his shirt, messed up his hair. He's going to make it look like I ripped him up. Well, I started thinking, Must be a little more devious. Now, he didn't know my background. He didn't know that I had been in the wrestling business. Now, when I was in the wrestling business, we had what we called blading. If you ever wonder how where the blood comes from, we used to carry razors on our person or in our mouth. And when it called for us to be juiced, is what we used to call it, we would discreetly run the blade across our foreheads. The blood would mix with the sweat, and it would make it look like you had a major laceration. So I figured I didn't have a gig, so I'm looking around. I see a screw underneath the bush. I'm like, wow, perfectly timed. I grabbed the screw, ran it across my forehead. Now, my forehead is so much scar tissue that when you run something across it, it opens up like a walnut. And I proceeded to start bleeding. Well, a few minutes later, the police show up. So I said, let me play this up, because I know he's going to. So I put my head down like this. Please come over. You all right? Oh, yeah, I'm fine. Did you call the police? And I like, no, I'm pretty sure my roommate did. Really? Where is he? I don't know. The one thing about this goon, he would call the police, but then go hide, thinking that the situation was going to be straightened out without him. But I guess he figured out something was going on. He come running into the house. He saw the blood on my face. He did that to himself. Well, the police looked at him and, dude, be quiet. Nobody's going to do that to himself. The police are like, we'll call the paramedics. We'll have them patch you up. I'm like, yeah, that'd be appreciated. Well, things weren't looking good for him. Police asked if I wanted to press charges. And I'm like, no, as long as he stays away from me, that's fine. Well, I realized at this point in time, I got to get the hell out of there. I packed a few things and I stayed over a lady friend's house that night. And I found a place to live. And I says, I put some money down on it. I got to get the hell away from him. Well, next day I go into the house. He's completely calmed down. Didn't say much about it, but I start packing my things. And he looks around the corner. He's, what are you doing? I'm packing my things. I'm moving. And he says, you're leaving me? And I'm like, dude, do you know how gay that just sounded? And he's, I says, dude, I'm not leaving you. I'm moving out. You're going to leave me here all alone? It was my impression that this kid had never been alone in his life. So he also needed somebody as a security blanket. He was afraid of living his own life. He had to have somebody there. As bad as he treated people, he needed to have them there. The thing was, he used to have to control their lives. And I didn't like that, people sticking their nose into my business. Well, I moved. I said, forget it. I washed my hands of him. And I was still working and stuff. A few days later, he starts hunting me in work. Like, oh my God, what do you want? Can I talk to you outside? Yeah, but then you got to go. He says, I don't like it at the house. Can I move in with you? And I'm thinking, I just moved out to get the hell away from you. No, you can't move in with me. This went on for a few weeks, pestering me. He eventually disappeared. Never heard or seen from him again. I don't know where he is, but that's fine. That was my first dealing with a narcissist. And I kept that in the back of my mind for years. I was very gun shy with people after that. I says, I don't like control freaks. Now, I've known a few control freaks since then, but since then I've also learned how to handle them. I handle them much differently. I didn't know at the time how to remove their power, so I put myself through a beating before I eventually left, which took the power away from him. It did, but I wasn't aware of it at the time. Now, I had a Bible instructor who was very much the same way. Wasn't as nerdy, but he was a control freak. Gave a lot of self-importance to what he was. When I was studying and even after, he made himself sound very important. You thought he was on the governing body the way he talked. And he wasn't. He was no important than anyone else. When I was pretty much done and fading, the elders could get nowhere with me, he stepped up. I know how to get him back. I got total control of this guy. So he thought. First it act buddy-buddy, then get nasty, then act buddy-buddy. But what he wasn't understanding is I was done. I was gone. You're wasting your breath trying to get me to come back. I was finished. He just didn't understand that. Well, I decided to send him the bunker video. Now, this is before they had the convention, so he hadn't seen it yet. I had downloaded it and sent it to him. Well, he got it. He texts back, "That's from an apostate website. Don't talk to me again. I deleted it." Well, I figure, okay, don't talk to me. I won't talk to you. You don't talk to me. I figured that goes both ways. Now, he started pestering me, banging my door, calling my phone. Now, the thing is, when I'm home, if I choose not to answer the door, that's up to me. Well, he started calling my phones. I had 2 phones. Unfortunately, he had both numbers. I stopped answering the phone. I got a 3rd phone to use. And I kept those phones off. We started getting mad. You never answer your phone. You never answer your door. My prerogative. I don't have to. He starts haunting me at work. Now he thought he had the right to do so. I'm like, dude, do not stop me with me at work. But what do? Jehovah's Witnesses do? When they can no longer have sway with you, when they have nothing to say, they make nasty comments. Because they've lost, it's all they have, is to shoot you down one final time. Well, that was all he had. Now I'm looking at this idiot walking away, and I'm like, I'll never have to deal with you again. Well, the thing was, there was a leak in that congregation. I found out exactly what he said. He played the victim at the Kingdom Hall. I thought he was my friend. I just wanted him to come back. But he got nasty with me. He started throwing chairs and everything. What he left out was I started throwing the chairs after he annoyed me to the point of no return. But he's never been back since. And the last time I ran into him, the look of fear on his face, I was loving. But I wish he would disappear like that nerd in the background. But the thing was, when I met this guy, that nerd I was talking about popped right in the front of my head. Because when I was studying, he wanted me to move into a shed on his property. And I'm thinking, that would be giving up my entire life. And that was the first thing I thought of. I wouldn't be able to breathe without you being there. And I'm thinking, you're living in a house, all alone, you're quite comfortable. Why would you move into a shed with no plumbing? I wouldn't, so I didn't. But for the next 10 years, he did nothing but try to gain control over my existence. And that was the final straw that actually ran me out of the organization, because I do not like control freaks. I don't like narcissists. And I've toppled each and every one of them that's come along, because now I know what they are and I know what to look out for. Anyways, guys, there wasn't much importance of that video, but I thought I'd throw it out there anyways. You guys have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.